Hello and welcome to the 2022 World Cup Sporting Index preview. Today I'm joined with Neville and Colin from Sporting Index. How are you guys doing and how are you looking forward to the World Cup? Neville, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, Dan. Yeah, very much looking forward to the World Cup in a few weeks' time. I think it'd be intriguing to see sort of how England get on. Going so close last time in the Euros and World Cup before that. And obviously we've got the squad announcements to come later this week, so some big decisions for Gareth Southgate to make there.
And Colin, I'm assuming you're really interested in how England are going to get on too, right?
Afternoon, Dan. Yeah, absolutely buzzing for it. Yeah, it'll be. To be fair, as I say, I actually quite like cheering on England. To be honest with you, I don't really have a problem with that. To be quite honest with you, but again, that's just because I'm a scumbag Rangers supporter, and I can't really bring myself to fully get behind Scotland too much when it's flooded with Celtic supporter players. So yeah, I don't have a problem with cheering on England.
Oh, I was thinking before we jumped on actually that the three of us are probably the most keen for the World Cup to come around, with Bristol, Reading and Rangers. Well, yeah, none of them are taking off at the moment, are they? So we're probably the biggest advocates there.
No, it's true actually. And on top of that, go and watch Wigan as well, and Wigan are on a bad run of form as well at the moment. So yeah, it probably is going to be a nice break for us, and we can put the feet up and and enjoy this.
Yeah, I think so. Right, Nev, well, you brought up England there, and that's exactly where I wanted to start. You mentioned the squad announcement is just around the corner. And I think, Southgate's still got quite a few questions that he needs to answer here. I'm sure he does have the answers, but I don't think any of us are aware of it. So let's start off with the goalkeeper then. You've got three goalies there that, are all kind of within a chance of playing for England. I think I know who my choice is, but I'm keen to find out what yours is.
Yeah, I think most likely he's going to go with Pickford. He seems to be the safest option. Obviously, there's Ramsdale, who personally I think he's just got a mistake in him, and then Nick Pope, who again, very, very good goalkeeper, but just don't think he has got the international experience compared to Pickford. And obviously, they trialled him in the Nations League recently, and he made that mistake in the Germany-England game late on, which sort of sticks in my mind. So yeah, those three is the choices, but pretty sure he's going to go with Pickford.
Yeah, I think so too. Colin, do you disagree with that?
No, I think they're. I think truthfully, out of the three, I think Pope would be the one that I would play personally. Kind of like Nev's alluding to there. I think he is probably the safest. The safest out of the three. Pickford, I just can't have him as a goalkeeper at all. And Ramsdale actually seems to have all the attributes to be a particularly good goalkeeper, but he seems to, and he's obviously having a reasonably good season with Arsenal. But he seems to be very keen in the histrionics, and as does Pickford, and seems to the focus on that sort of side of the game seems to take away from actually what he's particularly good at. So I'd play Pope, but I'd be absolutely astonished if it wasn't Pickford.
Fine. Yeah, I think it'll be Pickford. Despite Ramsdale and Pope both having more clean sheets than him in the Prem this season, I can't really see how he can play anyone else. But I'm enjoying this. First question in, and you guys are both disagreeing, so it bodes well for the rest of the chat. I guess the next big question mark, which has been going on for a couple of years now, is where does Southgate go in the right back position? I know injuries are going to play a big part in this now and kind of remove a couple of candidates, but there's still quite a few to choose from. Colin, do you want to start us off there?
Well, it's obviously a position that England supporters and Southgate in particular have been banging on about for quite a while now, and they have had, a lot of good quality players in that position. Injuries have obviously potentially going to have taken a toll here with Kyle Walker and Reece James both picking up injuries recently. And they seem to be two that Southgate's very, very keen on, and sort of leans on, and that seems fair. The one that I think everyone, causes the most sort of arguments and discussion is around Trent Alexander-Arnold, and in my opinion, there's no point. There generally is just no point in taking him, because Southgate isn't going to play him, and you just take him. You just basically create a circus around him if you take him, because then you're going to have, before every game, you should play him, or you shouldn't play him, or you should play him, or you shouldn't play him. Just leave him behind, because you've got no intention of playing him anyway. That's the way Southgate is, and I actually don't disagree with the view he takes on him, because he does a specific role for Liverpool, which isn't what would be needed for England. So that's fine. It's the two. The two aren't mutually exclusive. You can basically say Trent Alexander-Arnold is he's a good footballer, very good footballer, but he doesn't necessarily fit into that England team. So, that's I certainly wouldn't take him if I was Gareth Southgate. Just there's no upside to it at all. You go with you take Trippier because he's been there, and he's got the experience of playing at these tournaments. His confidence is reasonably high at the moment with his performances for Newcastle, and you gamble probably on one of Reece James and Kyle Walker in terms of which one's most likely to be properly fit. I think is his way forward with that at right back anyway.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can't disagree with any of your comments. Never. Have you got anything to say on it?
Yeah, I think in terms of the right back position, and it feels like it's between Trippier and maybe Ben White for Arsenal. I think both playing at the top of their game for clubs this season. I think just with the way Southgate is, he's sort of a steady Eddie. He's just going to go with Trippier. I think with the experience, I think he's got over 30 caps for England, isn't he? It just feels like it's just going to be Kieran Trippier for me. But we'll see. Yeah, similar comments about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Again, I'm actually quite a big fan of Trent. It's just feels like he does get sort of quite a bad press this last sort of year and a half. I know some of his performances have not been great, but some of his crossing ability is out of this world. But as Colin says, if there'll be such a circus around him, it's probably best off just not taking him.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, I'm all aboard with the hate for Trent. I think he's been a bit of a fluke this season. But you are right. He's pretty good at dead balls for crossing corners and all that. But in the same breath, I just don't think England are short of options with sort of free kick takers and things like that. So I'd be leaving him at home for sure, and I'd definitely be going with Trippier. But an interesting one nonetheless. I guess another player who there's been a lot of discussion about is James Maddison. I guess this is quite a quick question: is do you or don't you take him? Neville, we'll start with you, mate.
I think personally, I would take him, but I don't think Gareth Southgate will. I think he's almost made his own mind up there, Southgate, with his selections in for recent squads for England. And I just can't see him going back on it now. And feels unlucky because he's obviously been awesome for Leicester this season, but I just can't see him picking him, to be honest. He's just going to go with the tried and trusted midfield options of Rice, Saka, Phillips, Mount, Foden, Bellingham. They're just all in front of him, I think.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Phillips is such a weird one as well because he's played such little football this season so far. But what are your thoughts, Colin? Maddison in or out?
No, I definitely wouldn't bother with him personally. I think he's just one of those show pony players, isn't he, really? I mean, pretty boy. I mean, he's look, again, he's one of these characters that he's got a bit of skill, and he's got that ability to be the sort of centre of attention. We've even seen that at Leicester, when other players have been sort of outperforming him there. His toys come out of the pram a little bit. So, no, I wouldn't, I think, again, we've spoken about it with Southgate, he's got this sort of core of players. And yeah, I think he's more than happy with that. The likes of, something like Bellingham and all that. You just don't need the distraction of something like Maddison in the squad.
But it sounds like the negatives outweigh the positives. Then really, it just seems mad that a player with those stats this season is missing out because of he doesn't fit in and is just not favoured by Southgate. But I mean, that's the cutthroat nature of it also. that's how it'll be. And then the last positions then I wanted to talk about is the strikers or the forwards. I mean, Kane is an absolute given, but there are a few question marks around guys like Tony, Callum Wilson, Tammy Abraham. Who would be your choice, or are you taking all of them, Colin?
That is a very difficult one in terms of who you actually do take there. When you've you've obviously got Harry Kane. He's your top man. He's going to be, the focal point of everything. And so, it becomes almost an also-ran position. So you do have to have a particular mindset to be in that role, to go there, knowing that if everything goes as it should do, you're not really going to play, but you have to be ready to go if needed. So, Callum Wilson, no, simply because of the injuries. And I don't think you can trust them from that point of view. Ivan Toney, I actually do quite like, and I would take him. I mean, I've read some absolute nonsense about taking him because of his ability to score a penalty. I mean, that's absolutely preposterous. You take the boy because he can play football and can score goals, and the idea takes on because they can take a penalty. It's not the Olympic hockey team, you're not taking Sean Curley for the old shot colonels. So no, I would take Ivan Toney as the sort of main backup striker to Harry Kane. But if they took Callum Wilson, Tammy Abraham, anyone like that, I don't think any of them would necessarily let the side down. I think England are all right in that position, and I think they would all accept that role behind Harry Kane as well. I think, again, you want a close-knit squad, which has been key to England's success over the past, few years and past couple of tournaments in particular. You don't really want to upset that, and I don't think any of those guys really would do so.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. Nev, anything else on that subject?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the striking options for England, it's sort of Harry Kane, and Harry Kane, isn't it? No one else gets a look in. I mean, the other options you've got, the striking options, you've got sort of Marcus Rashford, Ivan Toney, Callum Wilson, Tammy Abraham in Calvert-Lewin, I guess. But, I mean, there's so many injury dates here with these guys. I think Wilson went off injured at half-time at the weekend. So, yeah, it's going to be, take your pick out of those. There's not that much difference between them, I don't think, that those names I've just listed.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's just a case of praying that Kane doesn't get injured. He can play 90 minutes in every game, and that is kind of sorted that. But okay, so it sounds like there's still a bit of a headache for Southgate. Between us, we couldn't really agree. So let's just hope he makes the right choices. But I guess that just leads us then to dive straight into the tournament. I wanted to kind of go through each group. We'll discuss your thoughts on who's going to win and who's going to qualify, and maybe even a couple of dark horses. So we'll start with Group A, which is Qatar, Senegal, Ecuador, and Holland. I was going to start off with a bit of an outside shout that I'm quite big on Senegal here. I'm a big fan. I think they can win that group. What are your thoughts, Nev?
Yeah, I think Netherlands very much the likely winners of this group, but not the sort of team you want to be backing at a short price in a major football tournament. They've obviously got some world-class players in the likes of Van Dijk, Depay, De Jong. So, yeah, I mean, Netherlands probably win it, but I wouldn't be a backer at the price. I think second spot is up for grabs in this group. Like you said, Senegal definitely got a chance. I mean, I'll give an outside chance to Qatar here. I mean, it's going to be tough for them. I mean, they don't generally come up against this calibre of opposition. But I can just see them being very defensive in their games, in trying to hold out for 0-0s, in hopefully nick a 1-0. So potentially Qatar, but like you say, Senegal as well, definitely got a chance.
Yeah, fair enough. Colin, you agreeing there?
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're trying to big the tournament up and we're trying to be nice and positive about it, but this group looks absolutely horrific to me. I mean, Jesus, I mean, yeah, it's difficult to see where goals are coming from in any of them, really. Again, yeah, what yourself and Neville have said, Holland are a reasonably good team, and you would expect them to do well. But I think Qatar might actually be, capable of nicking a result or two. Senegal again, it's all about stealing a goal to win the game, and Ecuador not by any means the flashiest that the South Americans or anything like that, but again might be able to grind out a result. I mean, it just looks. Yeah, that looks a good group. That I wouldn't be expecting too much excitement in that one. Although that's nice. Maybe that means it's a there. Maybe that means it's going to be great entertainment. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. You've got very similar quality teams. It's going to be loads of goals, and it's going to be super exciting. Or at least, I'm super keen on Senegal. I think Senegal and Netherlands straight forecast is 6-1 or something like that. I think I'll be taking part in that. I don't want to throw all my eggs in one basket, but I think Senegal 33-1 to make the final as well. So, I'd just like to say I'm definitely not tipping that. I don't want that coming back to me. But right, we go from one relatively slow group to England's group, Group B, with the USA, Wales, and Iran. I guess the first point that I wanted to bring up here is that at Sporting Index, you've got the market of the group with the most goals. And I thought Group B, sorry, I shouldn't say England here. I thought that was pretty good value for Group B to provide the most goals. Any comments on that, Nev?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see there being many goals with the likes of Wales, Iran, US. I might be wrong, but I don't necessarily see this group being sort of goal crazy. I don't know, Colin, any thoughts?
No, again, I think it's not dissimilar to that other group, that first group. I think there'll be tight games. I don't think any of these teams are going to come out and try and take England on. So I think the 3 England games is a case of England sort of trying to break these players down, and that is where I guess going back to your the point you were discussing earlier, the argument about Madison, but you're taking Grealish, so he's actually the sort of player you probably want to be throwing on with 20 minutes to go if it's still 0-0. But yeah, whereas England had that incredibly fortunate group in the World Cup, with Tunisia and Panama, where old Harry Hotspur was able to pad the stats and steal the golden boot. I don't see that necessarily being the case here. But and then whenever all the games outside of England, all 3 of those teams have really got to think they've got a chance of qualifying. To be quite honest, Wales, maybe not been as performing as well as they have done recently. Gareth Bale has obviously had a great time sitting on the bench in America, and then decided to show up with 10 minutes to go at the weekend and win himself another medal. So he's always got that in him. The USA, they're not hopeless. These players, people, Pulisic and players like that, they're not dreadful at all. So again, a tight group again. I think that England should probably win all the games, but it wouldn't be the biggest surprise if they drew all the games as well. But I think it will be a lot more. I think these games will be a bit more entertaining than that Group A, simply because there is obviously the England factor. But I think it'll be a bit of a. It will be an interesting one, and England just have to try and keep their nerve and just try, and if they have to win at 1-0, they need to win at 1-0.
Yeah, I think it's just a case for England of just getting through this group, really, isn't it? And then they can really start their tournament, doing their best not to slip up. But just going back to something you were saying then about you wouldn't be too surprised if England drew all of their games. Another market I was looking at with you guys is how many points will England get in that group? And obviously my mind directly went to 9 at 13-5. But you're probably arguing more 3, 4, maybe 7. So how many points do you think England will get in that group, Colin?
It probably is it's probably one where seven is probably rightly. I think is seven the favourite. Yeah.
2 wins in the draw looks about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably what you're looking at here.
Yeah, fair enough. I even as the most patriotic supporter, it's pretty hard to disagree with that, but I'm sticking with 9, of course.
I mean, the thing with it, I suppose the way that the groups, the fixtures go, I think they play Wales in the last game, don't they? So, I can't imagine Southgate falling for it, but we saw how difficult it was for them to beat Wales the last time they played in a tournament, and then obviously the sort of pig's ear they made of the Scotland game in the Euros. So there probably is something at the back of Southgate's mind when he's thinking, we could probably do we're actually winning one of these games reasonably convincingly. But so that there probably is going to be that at the back of their mind.
For sure. All right then, on to Group C, which is Argentina, Poland, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. Argentina are obviously quite big favourites here, and Poland and Mexico probably pick them, I would have thought. Who are you picking here, Nev?
Yeah, as you said, another short price group favourite in Argentina, and understandably so. I think given the opposition, I mean, they coasted through qualification unbeaten along with Brazil. And I think it's hard to see them not winning this group, really. I mean, they've obviously got Messi, but they're not a one-man team when you consider the likes of Lautaro Martinez, Julian Alvarez, Di Maria, Otamendi. They've got quality players all over the pitch. I think Saudi Arabia probably look, outclassed here, really. So it's probably Poland and Mexico fighting out for second spot. And I think Poland probably just have too much from Mexico, who I'm not sure what the latest is on Raul Jimenez fitness, but I think he might be missing from the squad. And, I guess you've got Poland with Lewandowski up front, in Mexico potentially missing Jimenez. So I'll probably just be Argentina, Poland would be my sort of forecast for this group.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything else, Colin?
Yeah, I think, tough to disagree with that. I think the only thing that I think Saudi Arabia are very much one of the weakest, teams in the tournament by quite a way. I think the only thing slightly that might work in their favour, though, are the conditions. If we're expecting, temperatures sort of mid to low or low to mid 30s, then actually, the Saudi Arabian players probably are used to playing in those sort of conditions, and that might help them as the games go on. But I think that game right at the start is going to be massive. That Mexico-Poland game, and is arguably one of the first, really, probably one of the first big games of the tournament. Actually, the first one that you're thinking, outside of England, obviously, is the one that you're actually, actively looking forward to, thinking it will be quite an entertaining game of football.
Yeah, I think so. And just to throw it back a little bit, actually, Argentina are up there with the favourites for the whole tournament, but we're talking about how Poland and Mexico are quite similar. Do you think there's a case where they could both beat Argentina and Argentina might not make it through this group? Nev?
No, not necessarily. I think plain sailing for Argentina, this group.
Yeah, fair enough. And Colin, I'm guessing you're with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I would be. I would imagine this should be reasonably straightforward.
Fair enough. I'm just thinking, looking through all of these groups, there's quite short favourites in pretty much all of them. They're bound to be an upset somewhere, but maybe Argentina aren't my guys. Group D then, guys. You've got the champions France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. One of the key stats that I've seen when I've been researching for this is the World Cup curse, the European World Cup curse, which is European champions will bow out in the group stages in the following World Cup, which has happened every year since 1998, I think. Is there any chance that France get done by that again, Colin?
Well, there's always a chance, yeah. I think France are another one of these teams for me that on paper they just look fantastic, don't they? I mean, and obviously they are the reigning champions. But again, there's obviously always going to be question marks over, their sort of attitude and stuff like that. But that success our recent success has been built on that sort of midfield of Kante and Pogba, and neither of them are going to be playing, which makes life a wee bit more difficult for things. There's injury with Varane, but you've got, we'll come on to it later in terms of the golden boot, but Mbappe, Benzema and Griezmann as your front three, you're always going to have a chance, and they do have just really nice footballers all over it. And so I think Denmark have been really consistent over the past few years, and it wouldn't be the greatest surprise if they topped the group, and France went through second. That would be a massive surprise. But I think France and Denmark will make very short work of Tunisia and Australia. Tunisia with Saudi Arabia in terms of how poor they are, but again conditions might help. And Australia, is a bit like Wales, where somebody's had a bit of fun and have decided to throw a sort of League One / Championship team into the World Cup.
Yeah, fair enough. Neville, are you in agreement, sir?
Pretty much. I mean, as you said, another short price favourite in the groups in France. And without sounding like a broken record, it's hard to see them not topping the group. I mean, I couldn't back them. I think they're about 2-5 to win the group, but I couldn't back them at that price. It's interesting to note, I think Denmark did beat them home and away in the Nations League over the last year. So potentially chance of an upset here. I mean, if you look back to the 2018 Russia World Cup, I think these two topped the group in the group stages there as well. So I think a France-Denmark 1-2, but not necessarily in that order. I think potentially, chance of Denmark topping the group here. And as Colin said, I think Tunisia and Australia completely outclassed here and they're going to struggle.
Yeah, if you guys have both agreed, I'll struggle to disagree with you. So we'll move on to Group E, which is apparently the group of death with Spain, Costa Rica, Germany and Japan. It's a group of death, but still with two very sure favourites to qualify. But Nev, what do you think? Is this Spain's to lose?
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating group with sort of two of the European heavyweights in sort of Spain and Germany, and they really should be fighting out for top spot, I think. I don't think there's much in it between them, really. I probably would just side with Germany, but I don't think there's much in it. I think it's fair to say that both countries have struggled over the last 10 years or so at major competitions. But I think, Germany probably just topped the group with Spain in second. Hard to see. It's Costa Rica or Japan, I think the other two, that it's hard to see them giving Spain or Germany too many issues. But, we'll see. Yeah,
Colin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a great group. I think it's, I'm not convinced it's a group of death, but I do think it is incredibly fun group, this one, actually, because I think, as Nev said there, there's definitely question marks over both Germany and Spain, qualified without any real difficulties. But their recent experiences in big tournaments have been poor. Whereas Japan just, knock it about, lovely football team to watch. They just need to score goals, so that's their problem. But knock it about, really is quite entertaining to watch. So, for example, Japan, Spain will be very much one for the purists. Look out for the Spot Index total completed passes in that one. And Costa Rica are not mugs. They're an aging squad. They're not as good as they were all those years back. But, again, they're sort of, they're capable of getting a result against both Germany and Spain and Japan. So, I think that's a really fun group, that one. And I think it'll be funny to see the nerves go for both Spain and Germany in that second game. Especially if one of them doesn't get a result.
Yeah.
the first game. Their ball could go. I mean, I think the only disappointment of that group is Timo Werner being out for Germany. I love watching him; he's fantastic. I mean, talk about teams people that can't score goals, but I mean, he's just fun to watch. I mean,
again, I'm quite surprised to hear so much plaudits for Japan when, they're largely based around the Celtic side, but we won't go into that. We'll move on to Group F, and another short favourite in Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. I really don't like Belgium in this tournament, but it's still pretty hard to see them not qualifying from this group. Nev, what do you think?
Yeah, as you said, a decent group. I actually fancy an upset here with Croatia topping the group, above favourites Belgium. I think, Croatia topped a fairly easy qualification group. I think they beat Russia. You could argue that Belgium had an even easier group to qualify when. I think they just really had Wales as their main danger. I think, obviously, Belgium got some unbelievable talent in the likes of De Bruyne, Hazard, Lukaku, Divock Origi. Sorry, only joking. But I think they flatter to deceive more often than not. I just sort of fancy Croatia to top the group. I think they're about 5-2 Croatia, so I'll be happy with that. I think they're just a more solid option. Going to have the likes of Modric and Kovacic in the heart of midfield. Although I think it's fair to say they're pretty lightweight up front, Croatia. They haven't really got sort of a talisman striker like they may have done in previous years. But still, at 5-2, I think that's a fair price.
Yeah, fair enough. Colin, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, is it a tournament too far for Croatia? I suppose is the problem, and again the conditions, and being in the middle of the season, is actually Croatia the team that might have the biggest impact on actually. Belgium, I think they've summed it up quite nice. I think they do have some wonderful players. I mean, we've spoken before. Kevin De Bruyne is arguably the best player in the Premier League, and ultimately they've not. It is England-esque, I suppose, to a certain extent, in that they've not really fulfilled that potential. They've done well in tournaments, but they've not really got over the hump and actually won something. I mean, a lot of that's to do with the manager. I mean, Roberto Martinez. I mean, frankly, they would do better if you were managing them, Dan, to be quite honest with you. But I still think there'll be a part of them that almost thinks this is the last chance for them. I'm not saying that they're all completely ancient or anything like that, far from it, but there will be a part of them that does think, this is it. This is the kind of last go at it. Morocco and Canada aren't completely useless either. Canada have got a few, a little Canada, a bit like in Wales, in that they've got a sprinkling of really, really good players. And Morocco, I think, will be hard to beat. So good. It's a good group, that, and wouldn't really be surprised if one of Belgium or Croatia didn't qualify. I think that's another entertaining group to watch. I think that one.
Yeah, I think so. I'm a big fan of Canada, obviously, with Reading's only representative at the tournament in Junior Hoiler, so I'll be backing them all the way. Moving on to Group G, then you've got Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. Another short favourite in Brazil. I mean, I can't see anyone but Brazil winning this. I'm a really big fan of Brazil in this tournament. Nev, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, it's got the look of a bit of a walkover, this group, I think, for Brazil. I think similar to Argentina, they went unbeaten in qualification. I think they barely lost a game of football in the last 3 years, Brazil. Obvious quality all over the pitch, from goalkeepers, Alisson, Ederson, defence, Thiago Silva, midfield, Casemiro, Fabinho, and then up front, it's just a frightening abundance of quality. I mean, the list is Neymar, Firmino, Vinicius, Richarlison, Jesus. It's just endless. I mean, they've almost got too many options if they're not going to be able to keep them all happy, because they're just not going to be able to give them all game time. But I guess the battle is for second spot in this group. So Switzerland in Serbia. in probably Cameroon for the wooden spoon. I mean, maybe Serbia with Vlahovic up front, they can grab second spot ahead of Switzerland, but not much in it, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough. Colin, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be. It's easy to get taken away by Brazil's record recently. They are obviously playing pretty well, but yeah, ultimately, how confident are you going into this with Man United's midfield with Fred and Casemiro? I mean, you're not absolutely buzzing, are you? And Neymar, fantastic footballer. Just he doesn't really win much, does he? I mean, he's for all his flicks and tricks, he's a bit of a never really sort of you can argue that one where he hurt his back in the home World Cup. They would have been looking good at that point, but it's difficult. Yeah, they're clearly a class apart from any the other people in this and arguably in the tournament. So yeah, I mean, the fact that they've been able to take Dani Alves into the squad is just a good luck mascot, is quite entertaining as well. So, and people, as Nev touched on there, the people up front, that Vinicius Junior is the complete opposite of Neymar for me in terms of, seems to be a lovely character, plays with a smile on his face, and does seem to win things. So congratulations to him. But no, I think it's Cameroon, Switzerland, Serbia. No, they're pretty dull, and Brazil should have a reasonably straightforward path to the next round there.
Yep, fair enough. As I said, I think Brazil are looking great. And we missed off the fidget spinner Anthony. Surely he's going to bring the vibes, and they'll be flying. Well, on that note, we'll get to the final group then. Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and Korea. A little bit wider open. Again, Portugal relatively short favourites here, but could be a group where there's an upset. What do you reckon, Colin?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mug when it comes to this. I actually think I actually quite like Uruguay. I'm not 100% sure why, but easy to fall for the idea. We're talking there about midfields and joking about the Brazil one, but actually Uruguay is Valverde and Bentancur, for example, does jump out at you thinking that's pretty sexy. The defence is the same defence as it's been for God knows how long, and all right, Godin probably won't be there, but Sebastian Coates is a bit of a worry, but these people, they know their job though. They've been kicking about top level football for a long time, and then you've got the potential of Darwin Núñez and Luis Suarez up front. I mean, it's just like Andy Carroll and Luis Suarez up front for Liverpool, isn't it? So I actually quite like Uruguay in this one, but Cristiano's obviously got a lot to prove now, and the big boys have been on him. It wouldn't be the greatest surprise in the world if he just comes out and has one last hurrah and as an incredible tournament. And again, South Korea and Ghana are actually, I think they're quite good teams as well. So again, I think this, it's very much sort of bottom loaded, this tournament, in terms of the bottom four groups are actually really good, and the top four groups are pretty grim. So this, fun group, and I think the potential, you wouldn't be surprised if any of the four won this group, quite frankly. I think that's how wide open this one is. There's some sexy sort of straight forecast you can do there with South Korea and Ghana as your 1-2. But I think it'll be an entertaining group to watch. There'll be some, it'll be sort of tight stuff, but there'll be a lot of hair pulling and that sort of stuff. So we will enjoy that aspect to it as well.
Yeah, definitely. It looks an exciting one. Just want to remind you though that I won't have any slander for Andy Carroll. Let's just that, please.
I'm like, again, and Timo Werner took it up over from Andy Carroll. The amount of money I lost on him, I mean, that was absolutely astonishing when he was at Liverpool. I mean, it seemed impossible for him to not score when he was there. But yeah, so there you go. Yeah, get on Uruguay.
Yeah, well, no, thanks for that. Anyway, Nev, what are your thoughts on that last group then?
Yeah, probably similar to Colin. I think this is one of the more open groups, despite Portugal being odds on to win it. Again, like a Belgium or Netherlands, I'm always happy to take on Portugal at major football tournaments, despite their obvious abundance of quality players. I mean, I just don't think they're the sort of team I want to be with when the chips are down and things are going against them. Maybe their tournament rests on what Ronaldo does. I think he's much more likely to blow out than take the tournament by storm, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're obviously also missing Jota as well through injury, who's one of their better players. And the obvious option to take them on is Uruguay, who finished third behind Brazil and Argentina in qualification. In as Colin mentioned, they're going to rely heavily on the likes of Valverde, Bentancur, Luis Suarez in Darwin Núñez up front. So I think they're around 2-1 to win the group. So I'll be happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Núñez is quite an interesting one here. And I'm a little bit surprised that both of you guys have referenced him after his start at Liverpool. But as I think we've spoken about before, he's obviously a quality player. So maybe the World Cup is his platform to shine. I don't quite believe that, but we'll see.
I don't think his start to the Premier League's been that bad, has it? I mean, we've seen worse, haven't we?
We probably have, yeah. I think it's just because he's a Liverpool player that I just love. Right, it seems like a good point then after going through the groups that we jump straight to the outright. We've kind of mentioned along the way who's at the top of the market, etc. So at this point, I want to get both of your thoughts on who's going to win the tournament. And well, I imagine that probably is going to be someone sure favourites, as it seems to have been so far. And any sort of longer price, sort of dark horses that you guys might have that people at home will be interested in. Nev, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, don't have any strong views. I mean, when someone asks you who's going to win the World Cup, it's hard to be original or think outside the box when realistically the winner's going to come from one of the top few in the betting. I mean, there's so many great teams playing. You could easily pick a Brazil or an Argentina. But yeah, I mean, before the Timo Werner injury the other day, I was looking at Germany. They're around 12-1, but that's obviously a bit of a knock to their chances. So yeah, I haven't really got a strong view on the outright winner, to be honest. I don't know, Colin, have you got any thoughts, ideas on this?
No, I mean, I think as we sort of touched on earlier, I think if you were sort of forcing me, I think I would probably go with France just because I think the potential for them to have a nice, reasonably straightforward run. They shouldn't really have any problems in the group. First couple of rounds in the knockouts should be reasonably straightforward as well. It is just that question over the sort of getting over the sort of the midfield and the loss of those two players. They've certainly got people about there. The issue is if you've got your regular three midfielders of Pogba, Kante and Rabiot, you're pretty gutted that if Rabiot's the only one that's actually fit. So, but that Tchouaméni, he's getting some minutes at Real Madrid and stuff. So they've got enough players in the squad, and if it's the classic gag, and France can only really beat themselves because because of their attitude and their infighting and all the squabbles. But if they're at it, that front three can just destroy anyone. Benzema and Griezmann and Mbappe. So yeah, not very, like Nev said, not very imaginative, and they're not exactly a huge price. But yeah, France, you'd be disappointed if you didn't get a good run for your money there.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And you guys both sort of mentioned then goal scorers in your rationale, which obviously makes sense. But leads us on nicely then to chat about the Golden Boot. It seems amazing that we've said that there might not be that many goals in England's group. we've kind of written them off. No one's mentioned them in their pick, but Harry Kane is the shortest price here at 8-1. Well, firstly, what do you make of Kane's price? It seems way too short for me. And then, well, where would your money be going in this market? Colin, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously the defending champion, and like I said, he sort of did it. He got over the line in the last World Cup with the sort of Panama hat-trick against Panama, 2 against Tunisia, and then he got one against Colombia later on to get the 6 and get it over the line. And the next time was 4 after that. It'd be interesting to see how many it takes, especially in a tournament we think might be quite low scoring. So I can see why he's at the top of the market, because he on paper he does have these reasonably easy group games, and then again shouldn't have a dreadful route to the final. So I can definitely see why he's there. The team's built around him. He takes the penalties. Yeah. I think he's rightly the favourite. It's difficult to see past him. I think the one for me is, if you look at the list, you've then got Mbappe and Benzema. So as we've spoken about, quite fancy them for the tournament and expect them to do well. And they've also got the reasonably straightforward group. Right, Denmark, but Australia and Tunisia. I mean, you've got those two guys at those shortened prices, but then you've got Griezmann up at 33s, and bigger in places, and actually, he's the way. He's not shy about taking a pen from time to time. His goal scoring record for France is very, very good, and it's bizarre that he's so far behind those two in the betting for me. And so, yeah, Griezmann, I think, will give the punters at home a real good run for the money in this tournament.
Nice one. Nev, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think, as Colin said, probably the winner generally gets 5 or 6 goals for this Golden Boot sort of market in, Harry Kane's favourite. I mean, he does come across as a bit of a flat trap bully, really. He can very likely to get a hat-trick or a brace in early rounds, and that would probably set him up. I think he's around 7-8-1, isn't he? I think for this market, which, I mean, I wouldn't be backing him at that price, but you definitely get a run for your money. Like I say, there's a whole host of quality world-class names right behind him when you've got, the likes of Mbappe, Messi, Benzema, Neymar, Ronaldo. It's almost never-ending list of top quality players. Bizarrely, one of the players I looked at, I thought looked quite a big price was Darwin Núñez at 66-1, which is what we were talking about earlier. But as I say, there's just Lewandowski. There's a whole host of real big name strikers. Sadio Mane is going to be there as well. There's all of these sort of big names. Mitrovic, but take your pick, really. It's a great fun market, to be honest, with so many sort of quality strikers there. Yeah,
and it is absolutely wide open. And you mentioned Núñez then. I'm not going to come back at you for that, because I was going to say Mane. So anyone who's on the Senegal train with me, Mane at 80-1, all aboard. A wide open market and hopefully lots of goals. So it'll be quite a tight one at the end. Again, that's a nice kind of leeway then into my next point, which was to move over to the spread side of things with you guys, and look at some of the tournament totals prices. And the first one being tournament total goals, which I believe the midpoint is about 165 goals at the moment. I guess I'll come to you first, Colin. Can you help us find out a bit more as to why that is the price, and then tell us whether you think there'll be more or less?
Yeah, I mean, the way that this tournament works and this market and works on the spreads now is it does include extra time goals. This was a sort of change we did make. So the last European Championships, it used to only be the goals scored in regulation time. But our feeling was that, it was unfair on our clients, because, whenever you're sitting watching on the telly and they tell you how many goals they've scored, they would invariably always include the extra time goals. doesn't include penalties, shootout, goals. So that's that. So it's a very tricky one. This the traders have gone back and forth on a lot of aspects of not just the goals, but the sort of corners and the bookings, because the conditions are just so unknown. You know, we know it's going to be hot, but you read all these stories about air-conditioned stadiums and all this nonsense, and we've only really got, you know, a handful of games. You know, sort of 3 intercontinental playoffs were played in the group in the ground and stuff. So there's a little bit of a guessing game to all this. You know, you can make an argument that it's high. You know, because we you know, the players are going to come into this in the middle of a season. They're exhausted. You know, this, that, and the other. The conditions will sap them. Going to be no tempo to the games. The flip side is that there might just be a whole load of mistakes, and we end up in a situation where we've got, as Nev mentioned, world-class strikers up against useless defenders. So, you know, we might then see that that's the way that the tournament goes. Honestly, I can't see there being many goals. You know, I do think it is going to be attritional at times. You know, we sort of earmarked a few of those groups. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. It certainly gives the punters an edge, this sort of one. Usually we're truthfully, we're quite bullish usually going into any of these sort of tournaments. You know, we do the work and we're pretty confident we've got all angles covered. That's not necessarily the case with this tournament, which is why it should be quite exciting for a lot of our clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing you were alluding to there a bit is that, well, taking position on this market provides you with excitement from day one right to the very final. So that in itself,
yeah, that's it, exactly. Any of these totals, any of the sort of tournament total markets are great fun for the clients there. You know, because like you said, there's going to be games there that they don't necessarily want to watch or have a particularly strong view on. But if they have one of these tournament markets, they've always got an interest in every game, so it keeps the interest peaked. And they can, you know, these markets are updated at the end of each day. So, you know, if they want to close out their positions, then they're more than welcome to as well, if they get off to a good start, for example.
Excellent, thanks for that. And Nev, do you have any thoughts on that price then of the midpoint of 165? Do you think you'd be
Yes. As you said, yeah, midpoint 165. I think that's just under an average of sort of 2.6 a game, which obviously it does include the extra time, these quotes. I mean, it sounds toppy on the face of it. I don't think I'll be looking to buy there necessarily. I mean, you'd probably expect the group games to average higher than the knockout games. So I guess if you are buying and you get to the knockout stage and you're behind the curve, you're probably not going to be making it up once you get to the knockout games. But as you say, as Colin says, yeah, conditions a little bit unknown. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the teams cope with it, and if it does lead to mistakes defensively that could tip the average up higher. But yeah, I think the quotes looks about right, the price.
Yeah, fair enough. And both of you there, interestingly, have mentioned the conditions. I think that kind of comes back to the punters and is super exciting, because as much as the punters have no idea, you guys have no idea as well as to how it's going to fare. So that adds to the excitement. And then I've got one more tournament total that I wanted to bring up, which is another one that I'm suggesting of selling, is the tournament red cards, with the midpoint at 10. I think there was only 4 in 2018, Colin. So can you explain to me why that's so high?
Absolutely no idea. It does seem incredibly high, Dan. Yeah, yeah. You'd have to ask the boys on that one. That it does look high, but you know, again, if we're going down the route of low score and attritional football with sort of, you know, sapping conditions, it wouldn't be the biggest surprise if we got that. There are some, and you know, it's good when you bring referees from around the world into this sort of thing as well. You know, there's some absolute characters coming from South America for this competition who aren't shy about flashing the cards, and particularly the red cards. So that might be the main driver behind it. But yeah, it certainly at face value it does look high.
Yeah, I mean, in the same note, you mentioned the South American guys there. I think there was 10 in one game a couple of days ago, so maybe 10 across the tournament isn't too crazy. Nev, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think just that 4 last time out was just an abnormally low number of red cards. Yeah. I think if you look at the previous 2 tournaments before that, it made up 9 in 10. So it could just be that was just an abnormally low tournament for red cards. And I know you got. I guess you got to throw VAR into the mix these days as well. What does that mean in terms of if there's been any guidelines around tackles from behind? If there's been any guidance for the refs about red cards? But we'll see. Like as you mentioned as well, you've got referees from all over the world, so you get all sorts of weird and wonderful referees that seem to have their own ideas about how to ref a game of football.
So we did see the recent African Cup of Nations. We saw some absolutely incredible challenges that went unpunished, even though they were using VAR. So maybe referees from other parts of the world might not be quite as lenient as they would be they were in Africa.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't believe it's come to the last question before we've mentioned VAR, but I think that's probably for the best. So at this point, guys, I want to thank you for your time. I think that's been about an hour, so good work. And for everyone at home, I just want to wish you the best tournament. Enjoy yourselves. And remember, if you are fixed odds betting or spread betting with us, please do so responsibly. But Colin and Nev, thanks very much for your time, and I'll catch you soon.
Nice one. Cheers, Dan. Cheers, Nev.
Bye,
bye everyone.